Welcome back to another episode of the Jag Bros. It is me, Joey, one of your co-hosts with my two older brothers, JT and Jack, two lifelong diehard Jags fans ready for this 2025-2026 season. And we just had a pretty good preseason game, much better than the first one, I believe. Cleaned up a ton of the penalties and flags. That was really nice to see. The first team came out and played pretty well. There was a mistake here or there, but overall everything looked to be running really well, really promising. It didn't end exactly how we wanted, but it's preseason. We had our fourth to fifth stringers in there. A lot of people who aren't even going to make the team. So no harm, no foul, but still super excited. There was a few injuries as well. We didn't see Travis Hunter play at all, but hopefully all those people seem to be day-to-day. They were just kind of held out more as a precaution than anything serious. So what did y'all think about the game on Sunday?
Well, I just love this time of the year. This is so fun. We have college football kicking off week 0 on Saturday. Bunch of fantasy football leagues going on. If you're in a league, give us a shout out on Twitter or on YouTube in the comments. We'll give you our thoughts if you have any fantasy football questions. But we're in a dynasty family league, so we just had our rookie draft a couple days ago. Joey, you stole Tet McMillan right out of my hand the pick before I was ready to grab him. I think you knew I was high on T-Mac, but it's fun. I love fantasy football. Dynasty is a lot of fun if y'all are in dynasty leagues as well. But yes, back to the Jags. It was a much better game against a bad team with a lot of backups in, but it's good to see Trevor and the first string offense move the ball really, really well, and just mechanics look so much better and smoother and more efficient for the Jags offense.
Yeah, I care more about the style, especially in preseason versus the stats or versus, hey, are we actually able to move the ball? And one thing that immediately jumped out at me is how much Trevor is willing to throw the ball over the middle of the field. There are so many quick slants, quick plays to take advantage of the middle of the field, which I felt like Press Taylor's offense was dreadful at that. And so to me, that was the highlight of the entire game, is the fact that, hey, look, I think defenses can't just play the edges against us anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't ever like people being like, oh, Trevor's afraid to throw over the middle. No, the team last year and the coaching didn't set him up to ever throw it over the middle. I mean, it was obvious the few throws that he did make over the middle were the best ones. I still remember the Christian Kirk one where he does a drag over the middle, catches it, and runs it 45 yards for the touchdown. We only played from the numbers out for some reason. I still scratch my head of what that offense was in the last 2 years. It was miserable, but it is nice to see an actual offense that, like, the scheme wise makes sense and can be a winning offense. You can see how we could win with this. And Jack, you talked about me taking Tet McMillan. I just missed out on who I think is going to be a huge Jaguar. Maybe not the first few games, but in these preseason, Bashaw Tootin looks great. He's quick. He runs hard. I think, big take, he actually runs better and stronger than Tank. With speed and the ability to run through tackles, he looks like he is a number one star in the making. Maybe not the first day, but later on this season, maybe next season, he is going to be lights out, I believe.
Especially for Dynasty. That's going to be the great pick. I do think, I think you're going to see a lot of these 4 running backs, and all 4 played well. Which, again, we broke down the running backs a couple episodes ago. And I know we're going to talk about wide receivers and tight ends, but you look at the offense as a whole, and it just looks better pretty much every position, maybe every position group compared to last year. Certainly way better play calling. Trevor looks so much better. And part of the reason he played so well, yes, was the running game. Tank, ETN playing better. Tootin having that great touchdown, another touchdown run for him in preseason. But you've got to give a ton of credit to the big boys up front. Now, Remember, we are playing the Saints. The Saints had a lot of backups in. I don't think the Saints are going to be very good this year. They may be, competing for Arch Manning by week 4 or 5, just being real, given their quarterback situation. But I saw this stat on X today. Shout out to Daniel Griffiths. He said that Trevor Lawrence's average time to throw was 3.2 seconds on Sunday. That is the longest time that Trevor Lawrence has had to throw since his rookie season in week 4. Now, I have no idea what happened in week 4 that he somehow had a whole bunch of time, but that includes preseason stats. So hopefully the big boys up front can continue to give Trevor time and create running holes when the games matter here in about 2.5 weeks.
Well, that's ironic because we just traded for one of their defensive linemen coming out of that game. A trade, in fact, I do like, but it is funny that you're picking off one of the weaker defensive lines in that league.
Yeah, but I would honestly say he was one of the better defensive linemen, and you just got him a guy who actually will play some for us, for a guy that wasn't even going to make the 53-man roster.
Oh, yeah. Great trade. Great trade.
No matter what, wasn't making this roster, and you're able to get rid of someone maybe not deserved, but is a villain to a lot of fans here at the Jaguars.
He's certainly a villain to Joey. I don't know how many other people are that high or low on the offensive lineman or backup center that we have. But I agree with you, Joey. Is great GMing there.
Well, and how nice is it for the Jags to win a trade? And I think a part of that trade too was not just that Fortner was not going to make the team, but it's the fact that the Jags 7th round pick, Jonah Mayheim, played so well in this game. Yes, he's a 7th rounder, but he can play center and he can play guard on the interior offensive line. He played what you want to see from a backup depth piece, a young guy that hopefully can just keep getting better in that system. And overall, the rookies played very nicely. Joey, you gave that big shout out to Tootin. He played great. LaQuinn Allen, our other 7th round pick, the running back, he looks like a great receiver out of the backfield, had some good runs as well. And then Jack Kaiser had a total of 6 tackles and was about a half step behind on a potential sack there in the second half as well. So good to see that linebacker play well in the second half. Again, not going to start, but you want to see these guys play well because they are important in terms of depth. You're going to see them play anywhere from 10, 20, 30% of snaps that matter and could be big snaps for the Jags in the season.
I hate to be nitpicky here. I wasn't as big on Jack Kaiser's play. Yes, he had 6 tackles and he played a lot, but it felt like those tackles were further down the field than I would like from a linebacker.
True.
It just didn't feel like he was quite like filling the gaps. It was more of a catch tackle than hard nose coming down, closing the gap and hitting them at the line of scrimmage. So I would like to see some improvement with Kaiser. He's not going to be a starter and he's got time to get better. But you can see that he could possibly, I mean, he's better than Chad Muma, who looks like may not be making this team with how
watching the linebackers in coverage is just tough.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm a huge Foye fan, but I mean, he also can't cover.
It's not his strength, and it's not Lloyd's strength either.
No, I know. I do wish that we would get a guy that could just cover, but you can't get everyone. I do love the fact that we went and got this nose tackle that we did, because Hamilton, I think, plays well enough, but the issue is there's no one behind him. I think Tyler Lacey is garbage. I think that he put on some weight, and it's nice that he's trying to make it to nose tackle, but I have never seen him once in the backfield. I never hear his name called in practice, and they love to sing people's praises. All you have to do is do okay in practice, and people will mention your name, and he's never mentioned ever. I just don't think he is good enough to make the team, but they have to let him make the team because they just didn't have a depth there. But they went out, got themselves another nose tackle who has played in this league for a while now, played with the Chiefs, and then went to the Saints. Last year, he had the big interception against the Chiefs, big boy in the red zone.
That play is awesome. Yeah, look that play up if you haven't seen it, Jags fans. That is a fun one.
Fun one. He stiff arms a guy. It was really fun to see.
I mean, you try to tackle someone, what is he, 340?
324 pounds.
324, yeah.
Had 2 sacks last year, 43 tackles. The year before that, no sacks, but 57 tackles. And then in 2022, with the Chiefs, had 3.5 sacks as a nose tackle with 48 tackles. So he's in there making a real difference. Another great thing about the defensive tackle Saunders that we just got, he's won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs, and in the 2022 one, he actually played a really key role in the Super Bowl when they won against the Eagles. So having a winning pedigree, knowing what it takes to get all the way to the Super Bowl, to play in the Super Bowl, and then to win it is something that he can bring to this locker room and show that the Jaguars can win. It's okay to win. You don't have to get down on yourself and lose. So I think he'll bring a little bit of extra winning culture to this locker room. I actually saw him a bunch during the preseason game, kind of blowing things up. So glad to see him actually as a Jaguar instead of a Saint.
For sure. And how cool was it? Even that night, I mean, you rarely see, there's probably only a handful of time in sports where you get traded to the team you play that day. But Saunders even tweeted that night, Duval. So he's already fired up. And, you know, Joe, you talked about this probably a couple months ago on the pod. It's so nice to see guys that we're drafting, picking up, trading for, be excited to come play in Jacksonville. And especially leaving New Orleans, like it's a big step up. All of a sudden you go from a team that's probably going to struggle most of the year and try to figure out their quarterback situation to a team that should compete at least for the playoffs, hopefully for the division title in the AFC South.
Oh yeah, this was a pretty big upgrade for him, I believe. I don't know if you just saw this. An interview came out today. Someone interviewed the Colts left guard about their quarterback situation, as Daniel Jones has just been named the starter for the season over Anthony Richardson. And they asked him, with this whole back and forth with the quarterbacks, is it frustrating? And he's like, I hate to say this, but yes, like he didn't lie at all. He says it's super frustrating that you see all these teams around the NFL not having this situation, and you don't know who's going to be calling the plays. You don't know what style they're going to be running. It must be difficult. So being able to have a team that has a set number one guy and can lead this team to playoff and has won a playoff is a huge upgrade for him.
Overall, good move for the Jags. I think most Jags fans feel like we won that trade. It just makes a ton of sense. You bring in depth at a position where we need depth, the interior defensive line, where honestly we've struggled. Our 2 potential starters are still out on injury, although Mason Smith sounds like he is getting closer and closer to being back, and hopefully will be back by week 1. Armstead is kind of a weird situation where we still just don't know a whole lot. So I like the move. Kind of the only other thoughts from the Jags game, it was nice to see our defense a little bit more aggressive. Trayvon Walker was phenomenal, even in just a few plays he played. He had that huge play where he almost gets a sack, but technically forces an intentional grounding at the 3-yard line, which pretty much shuts down that drive. So it was great to see number 44 out there playing well. Dewey had a nice sack among the starters as well. Those are the big plays that Jags need to make, because the offense to me should be really, really good, potentially top 10. If everything works perfectly, even top 5. But the defense, you're going to have more struggles. So get aggressive. Go for the big plays. Go for the negative tackles for loss. Go for the sacks. Go for the interceptions, which we didn't see until, I don't even know, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th string corner. Makes it a really nice play. Lovely. It was quite a lovely interception, no pun intended, but I want to see that from our starters. We were better than we played against the Steelers, a little bit stickier in coverage, but we don't need to be giving up a 75% completion rating to Shuck. And then, Rattler played against guys that may or may not make the team, but he got too many completions as well. So that was still my nitpick, and still my concern is I want to see the Jags secondary get more aggressive, make some big plays, make some gambles. Even if you miss, get our offense, some more possessions, because they should score a lot of points this year.
I felt that way too watching the game, but I also had to remember all those corners I was watching kind of get burnt sometimes were people that aren't going to be on this team. 35 got burnt a bunch.
Yeah, he did.
Slaughter, he's not going to be on this team. I felt bad, but Jabbar Muhammad also got burnt a bunch. Bad when I can read the back of your jersey. Saw his name clear as day. But yeah, you mentioned Lovely had that great jump. I just wish, that happens more often. It was a pretty easy one. He was eyeing that guy the entire time. But being able to notice that and then to jump in front of the route, that's exactly how it's done. He makes his case for hopefully making it to the practice squad because he had a pretty good game. I never saw his number other than with the interception. But I also wanted to mention now Ventrell Miller with that sack. Loved seeing a lot more blitzes coming than we did in the first game. I don't even think we had any blitzes against the Steelers this time. On Ventrell Miller's, did you see? I mean, I think it was a lead 8 blitz. Like everyone was lined up at the front and just went right after the quarterback.
Yes, I love that. They were having a fight of who got the sack, who got there first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you looked at it in slow-mo, it was obvious. It was
Yes, it was definitely Miller. He rightly got it.
Kind of fell on top of it, but it was nice to see them all just kind of bull rush. I want to see that a little more often. Third down, kind of long, and then you just don't even give them any time to throw it. Just all-out blitz. It's something fun to watch, something that we haven't watched from the Jags defense in a long time.
So one of the things that we've been doing each week as we go through the preseason is trying to break down one of the different position groups to talk about what are some of the key trends that we're noticing and talk about the room in general. And I think one of the rooms that we've seen a lot of the transition from this regime to from the last regime is in the wide receiver room. Our stalwart BTJ will be the one that leads us off, but gone are Christian Kirk, gone is Gabe Davis, gone is several of the other contributors there. We still have Parker Washington, and in comes 2 new faces. One, Travis Hunter, who will be playing both ways, obviously the star pick of this past draft, as well as Naomi Brown coming from the Washington Commanders. Guys, what are you most excited for in this room?
My most excitement has to be, obviously, I want to say Travis Hunter. I mean, we know what we're going to get out of BTJ. I think he'll play pretty much exactly how good he did last year, maybe a little bit more because he'll get more targets. But like excitement has to be Travis Hunter. Being able to see him catch some like shorter routes, but be able to break them into huger plays. I want to be able to see him cut through the field, dash up the middle, and just kind of gut teams. So I got to be really excited about him.
So I heard this today. We're recording this Tuesday night, and Pete Prisco just said in terms of Travis Hunter, he thinks that he's going to play 80% of offensive and defensive snaps. Are you guys buying that, selling that? Do you think it'll be 80? Do you think it'll be higher, lower, about the same?
I would buy the fact that that's what they want to do. I think that's why they drafted him, is because they thought they could get that type of production on both sides of the ball. My concern is what I said around the draft is, can he stand up for 17 games playing on both sides of the ball in a different level of speed from the Big 12 versus the NFL? That would be my concern. But yeah, I think the goal for drafting him where we drafted him and paying what we paid to get him is that he plays on both sides of the ball the majority of the snaps.
I would buy it on offense. I think he'll play close to about 80. I think there'll be a few plays, especially with Parker Washington, like really coming out of his shell and just keeps getting better, making it harder for him to be on the bench. I think that he'll be able to go on the field some to give Travis Hunter a little bit of rest sometimes and let him play a little more on defense. I don't think he'll get to 80% on defense. I think they'll try to get him out as much as possible, but I see it closer to like 70, high 60%, just because I do see Jordan Lewis playing a little bit outside and Jarian Jones, and they're going to kind of all rotate. I just don't think there's going to be enough snaps for him to get 80% on defense as well.
Which, if that does happen, that's still nuts. Because you think even a full-time starter at one position, star in that position, you're not going to play 100% at pretty much any position. So even full-time starter, you're playing kind of 80 to 90%. I still think he is going to be around that 80% in terms of offense. I just don't think realistically he can play even 60, 70% on defense. I think it's going to be, in my opinion, closer to about 40%. And you're going to put him in zone a lot. You're going to ask him to do what our secondary doesn't do well, which is, hey, go get the ball.
Cover.
That is what you are the best, honestly, potentially in the world at, is just an incredible ability to track the ball, an incredible ability to go up and just make a big play. Maybe we see a higher percent in week 1, but I think by the middle of the season, to me, that's the breakdown.
Barring injury, there ain't no way he's going under 50, I believe.
I kind of agree with you, Joey. And the one thing I will say too is I don't think we'll see him in 2 wide receiver sets. Now, we'll break down the tight ends here in a moment, but I don't think we have the personnel to run a lot of 12 personnel out there. That's worth a dime. So I think we'll see a lot of 13 personnel, meaning 3 wide receivers and 1 tight end, versus 12 personnel, which is 2 wide receivers and 2 tight ends. But one thing that we've been obviously Travis Hunter is the flashy name, but reality is, like, here's my hot take. I think Brian Thomas Jr. might be wide receiver 1 this coming year, even supplanting Jamar Chase, because whether Hunter comes in and plays as many snaps as he does, there is going to be some sort of ramp up time for a rookie. You also have to question his injury proneness by playing potentially 80% of the snaps in a game. But Brian Thomas Jr. looks awesome. They seem to be on the same page. He seems unguardable at times, and he put up 1,110 last year. I think he could do 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns this year, because half the season he was playing with Mac Jones and nobody throwing him the ball, and a very, very poor offensive coordinating to scheme this guy open.
I agree with you 1,000%, JT. So BTJ finished the year 3rd in the NFL in receiving yards, 6th in touchdowns, but only 16th in targets. Now, y'all want to guess how many yards Brian Thomas Jr. had for first quarters in all 17 games? Less than 100. That's crazy. Like, the Jaguars just were not using him in the first quarter. And honestly, they were slow to use him in the first 7, 8, 9, 10 games. He didn't see double-digit targets until week 11. And then week 11 on, he saw double-digit targets in every single game. And even for you Trevor Lawrence haters, and you say, oh, well, Mac Jones is not that bad. If you said, oh, Trevor Lawrence is not great, the one thing he is clearly and obviously far better than Mac Jones is the deep ball. And what is Brian Thomas Jr. the best at? The deep ball. So you're going to see a spike in that. You'll see better play calling. Yeah, I think there is a real world where Brian Thomas Jr. is still way too underrated, especially among the league, because he deserves to be way higher than 61st, where he was in the top 100. He should be an all-pro wide receiver, an all-pro player that the Jags haven't seen on offense in nearly a decade.
Yeah, JT, when you said your hot take was BTJ is going to be wide receiver 1, I thought you were talking about on our team.
No, I mean the NFL. I mean the NFL.
I understand now. That is a hot take because, you got Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson,
which he had a better year than Jefferson last year.
Jefferson was hurt a little bit, and
but still played 17 games. And he's going to have JJ McCarthy throwing him the ball.
Yeah, I trust Trevor and Liam Cohen to scheme up a better offensive game plan. And the reality is, too, Jefferson has Addison and Hawkinson. We have Strange, who we'll talk about in a second, who I think is just a guy. And you have Brown, who I think is just a guy. And Travis Hunter could be special, but I think he's just going to see a ridiculous – I think he's going to see like 30% of the share of targets.
I see this wide receiver core actually very much like the Vikings. I think Justin Jefferson is BTJ. I think Jordan Addison could be Travis Hunter. They're both smaller guys who are going to be able to cut up the middle and be able to extend plays. And then their wide receiver 3, I think, is Bateman or some.
Their wide receiver 3 is really their tight end, Hawkinson. So are you about to tell us that Hawkinson and Strange are similar?
Probably.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was just talking about the wide receiver
because
core.
Strange is better.
I will say Joey's been high on Strange for years, so this will be a fun.
And I really don't like the way that you guys are talking about Strange right now, because I think that he's actually going to have a huge year this year.
Define huge.
I think that he's going to be one of Trevor's safety nets when you have deep balls going all over the place. All of a sudden you hit Brenton Strange for 9 yards and get that first down. I think that he is going to be a guy who just catches everything. He may not make a lot of like run after catches and stuff like that, but he's just going to be there and he's going to do well and he's going to catch the ball. And that's all you need from a tight end. So granted, Liam Cohen's offense, I don't think really favors the tight end as much. You saw Kate Otten only ever get passes kind of when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were both out and you had to go to the tight end. But I don't think Brenton Strange is going to let you down at all. So I think that comparison's off. I was only talking about the wide receiver core, as Dyami Brown's as good as Bateman.
I'll give Strange some credit. In the preseason game, the Jags had 2 big third down conversions, and where did they go with the starters? They went to Strange, and he made 2 good plays. That's what we need. That's all you need from Strange. Be that safety net. And then the one additional thing I want to see is, and this, I pound the table so often on this with Ingram, I still is mind-boggling to me that we use them all over the field and then we're like allergic to Ingram in the red zone. Please use your tight end in the red zone. I give Strange credit again. He looks like he's put on some muscle, and he looks like he's going to be a tough matchup there in the red zone where he's just too big for safety and probably too quick for linebackers. He's 6'4", 255. He had 411 yards, 2 TDs last year. I need to see if he's going to stay healthy all season. That number's got to be at least 6 touchdowns to me, because realistically, looking at the rest of tight ends, you're going to see a big goose egg in terms of touchdowns from Hunter Long and Johnny Munt.
Just about every single one of the Jaguars right now from a fantasy perspective is underdrafted. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is slated too low. He's in that kind of next tier. I think he should be in that top tier. I think Travis Hunter is probably too low. I think Trevor's too low. I think I think Strange is probably too low because he's probably going undrafted in most leagues. He could be a top 10-ish wide receiver. He could, or tight end. He could be a Kate Otten. I could buy that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see him almost every game getting 5-ish receptions for about 50 yards.
No. If he's doing that, that's like Travis Kelce or like Hawkinson good. He's going to have games where he might have 5 for 50, and he's going to have games where 1 for 9.
I don't know. I see him getting used quite a bit just to get a first down. You only need 4 yards. You run everyone deep, making them scared that you're going to throw it to BTJ or Travis Hunter, and then you just dump it off low.
To your running back, who are all good at catching the ball out of the field and can do
except for Tank.
Too. Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a mix between the tight end and the running back. You get that first down, and you get it to Brenton Strange, or you get it to the running back. I think that Brenton Strange is going to, I'm not saying blow it out of the water with.
Say it, Joey. We need the hot take.
Unpack this for me, Joey. If you are saying 5 for 50 is his average, how many catches is Hunter getting? How many catches is Brian Thomas Jr. getting? How many catches are running backs getting? Not to mention Parker Washington, who you're super high on per game.
Well, Parker Washington, he's only going to get in occasionally. So he gets what, like 1 reception, maybe 2.
Boo.
No, I love him, but
obviously not.
He's the 4th wide receiver. How often are you seeing the 4th wide receiver getting that much reception?
So how many receptions is Hunter and Thomas Jr. and our running backs getting?
BTJ, about 8 to 10. Travis Hunter, 6 to 7. Dyami Brown, 3 to 4.
And then our running backs?
4.
All right, so Trevor's going to be he's going to be completing about 25 to 30 passes per game. So that'll be a fun offense to watch.
Yeah, I mean, they've thrown it a lot more than I thought they would in this preseason.
Yeah, I get that, but like that, I don't know. I'm not buying those numbers.
Fair enough.
Well, I want to give my boy Parker Washington some credit, because whether you call him wide receiver 4 or not, and Trevor was very high and they asked him about it. He's like, look, I don't want to put numbers on these guys because there's a real world where he outperforms Dyami Brown. Liam Cohen has been extremely high on Parker Washington. Everyone has praised his work ethic, what he's done on the field. And Dyami Brown, I'm fine with the move because unlike when we went out and paid Gabe Davis, we're like, oh, let's pay you $3 million. And look who's still a free agent almost week 1 into the season. And the Jags are still paying for that. Dyami Brown, you're only paying 1 year. But like Brown has been in the league.
$10 million. I'm sorry, you're not sitting on the bench 1 year, $10 million.
Okay, we're paying Gabe Davis almost $10 million. We're paying Gabe Davis almost $10 million to sit at home.
Because he's hurt. Did you not hear your interview? He's still hurt.
Okay.
Well, the other thing too, Joey. The other thing too, Evan Ingram averaged 3 catches per game. So we're saying that all of a sudden Brenton Strange is going to be averaging almost double what the production that we got out of Evan Ingram.
Yeah, because this offense is going to have a.
But this offense doesn't even feature their tight end.
Not because Brenton Strange is going to be a feature. It's because we are going to have that many more plays than we did last season. How many times was it we get the ball 3 and out back to the other team? We didn't have any sort of plays on offense. I mean, I remember we had like 4 first downs for an entire game once. I'm sorry, but when we are having 4 first downs every drive, that's ton of more plays where you are going to be able to get it to your tight end and other people a whole lot more, because I don't see us. I mean, we'll throw it deep sometimes, but I see it as we are going to be driving down the field. You're going to see a lot of screens. You're going to see a lot of screens to tight end, screens to running backs, short passes, getting the easy first down, and just keep moving the ball. It's going to be a completely different offense instead of run the ball, 3rd and long, throw it deep, incomplete pass, punt it away. That's all you have for the entire offensive drive.
I also think that Ingram number is off because Ingram missed a ton of time. And there's no way he only had 3 catches per game, especially 2023 where he broke the Jaguars reception record, I think, for all pass catchers.
When he was out for half the season, and even when
I was looking at he only played 9 games, but in those 9 games, he had 47 catches. So that's where that 3 number is coming from. But you're right. He did have a better 2023 year that would be closer to 5. But that is with an offense that primarily loves to run a lot of 12 personnel and likes to target their tight end. I just think you're going to see the running backs get more catches than that. And I won't quibble too much with some of your other ones. But look, we can move on from debating Brenton Strange's usage. I think he'll be fine. I'm saying he could be a top 10 fantasy asset. I just think 5 and 50 is a lot to ask from a tight end.
Much. I'll move it down to 4 and 40.
You do have to remember when you look at the tight end room as a whole, and I'm not trying to throw too much shade on Long and Munt, but they are both extremely blocking tight ends. So when you talk about when Trevor Lawrence goes to a tight end, and overall, I get that that's not a huge feature of Cohen's offense, but the tight end is such an important position in the NFL. I mean, you look at all these great teams. Mahomes obviously had Kelsey. 49ers have been in 2 Super Bowls. They have George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the league. Obviously, Brady in that dynasty, a lot of that was with Rob Gronkowski. A great tight end is an incredible asset. So, I've dogged on Strange, but hopefully I'm totally wrong. And I was wrong on Tank Bigsby. Joey, you called, RB1. And obviously that was a great call. He looked better than Etienne, who was hurt last year. So hopefully I'm wrong on Brenton Strange, but I also think you're totally wrong on Parker Washington. I think he is that good. There's a reason that Trevor loves him. He's got chemistry with him. And if you're a Jags fan, to me, you need to be cheering for Parker Washington to have a good year, because if Dyami Brown has a good year, you're going to either have to pay him a ton of money or replace him. Parker Washington stays on that rookie deal another year. He is an excellent returner. Part of the reason the offense did so well was both times they got great field position. And I remember all y'all said I was crazy. You can't move on from Agnew. He's such a spark. He's such a game changer. Well, Parker Washington has the exact same averages in kick returns and punt returns, and he's a far better receiver. And I think he's being criminally underrated again. Had a great touchdown in the preseason game, and he's good. And He had 390 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think he improves on those numbers this year.
Woo. I mean, I am high on Parker Washington. I ain't that high though.
You're not though. You said he was getting 1 catch a game.
Yeah, because he is wide receiver 4. I think he's good.
You're not high on a guy and say he gets 1 catch a game when he's coming off 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, which, oh, by the way, is better than any season Dyami Brown has had in 4 years in the league.
That's because Christian Kirk was hurt, and so he got to be a starter.
Okay, that's fine. He's still a better receiver than Brown.
He's not going to see that much playing time.
Here's what I will say. I think you are more likely to see more 4 wide receiver sets given this personnel, because I think positionally, I agree with you, Jack. I think they want to be able to get Parker Washington on the field. And I think Parker Washington, no offense to Strange, but is more of a difference maker on those routes. So if you can run a 4 wide receiver set with just 1 running back, I think you'll see more of that. During his 2022 year, Liam Cohen ran 90% of his offense with at least 3 wide receivers on the field. And that's a Rams team who also didn't really have a huge difference maker at tight end. So I think you're going to see a way to get him more on the field, whether it's replacing Strange, whether it's replacing Brown at times, or whether it's replacing Hunter for some of the snaps that he may not be seeing, particularly in the early stages of this offense. I think you'll see more. I would bet you'll see Parker Washington out there on at least 40% of snaps.
Y'all are crazy. The only time Parker Washington is getting in, at least at the moment, is either if someone gets hurt or Travis Hunter is taking a breather because he's played on
So you think he's going to be playing less than 15% of snaps?
20%, because 80% is Travis Hunter. He'll get 20%. That is it. Unless Dyami Brown goes down or Travis Hunter goes down, there is no way Parker Washington is getting more than 20% of the snaps.
I thought you were so high on him, Joey.
Yeah, for somebody that you're high on.
He's good, but you're not going to play him.
All right. We'll see.
Okay, you can be wrong.
These are our opinions for the wide receiver room and tight end. We'll be back to break down the front 7 on the defense in our last breakdown when we debrief the third preseason game. Our third preseason game against the Dolphins. This week there will be joint practices. So much like the last couple of years where they do this joint practice thing, I would this time highly suspect that our starters will not play at all in the actual game, and it'll be used more for that traditional last preseason game where they're trying to who is worth keeping and who's not worth keeping.
For sure. Yeah, follow along. The team practices are going to be a lot of fun. If you remember last year, that's kind of when Brian Thomas Jr. showed out against the Bucs. He had some great practices, looked uncoverable on the deep ball. So it should be interesting. Let's see what our secondary can do against some of the top wide receivers in the game with Tyreek Hill and Waddle and, I guess Tua out there as well. So we'll be retweeting, posting a lot of stuff on X. So follow us there. That's probably going to be the main attraction in terms of Jags. And then, yeah, JT, to your point, the preseason game is going to be a little bit probably more geared towards the cuts and who's going to make the team. And so kind of the key dates beyond that is going to be August 26th. So next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, that's when the Jaguars will announce their 53-man final roster. And then just about 10 days after, we'll be getting ready for week 1, September 7th at home versus the Carolina Panthers.
Man, I can't wait. A few more weeks away. So guys, if you like our content, please follow us, give us a 5-star review to continue to help the algorithms. And we love engaging with you guys on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the different platforms that we engage our fans with. And hey, just a couple weeks away from the all-important first game. All right, boys, let's close it out.
Duuuuval.